Welcome everybody to our first mortgage marketing webinar session. Thank you for those of you who have joined us online to watch this remotely after the recording. My name's Andy Shields. I'm one of the directors of Financial Reporter and the Financial Reporter Mortgage Industry Marketing Awards. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Mortgage Industry Marketing Awards, or the MEMAs, it's an awards program that we put together around 2 years ago to celebrate the often unrecognised work of the amazing marketing teams and individuals in our industry, and reward them for their great work. So I'm joined today for this session by 3 of our 2023 MEMA winners. And today's session is all about digital and social media. So we're going to look at how brokers and intermediaries can get the best out of technology to promote your brands. We're going to dive into what works, what doesn't work through different channels, email marketing, social media and such. I'm joined today by a co-host, the chap who's going to lead the conversation, a familiar face in the mortgage marketing world, Jeff Knight. Jeff, do you want to say hello?
Yeah, I will. So hello everyone. Yes, thank you very much, Andy. It's good to be amongst award winners. I used to be an award winner. Well, I didn't have grey hair.
Thanks, Jeff. And then I'll introduce each of our winners. So in no particular order, winner of the Best Marketing for FinTech, we've got Gemma Reed of Empower Mortgages. For winner of Best Product Launch, we've got Leah Brunskill of Market Finance Solutions. And then finally, for the winner of Best Use of Social Media 2023, we've got Savannah Dewhurst of Correco. Hi, guys. So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Let's get stuck right in. I'm going to hand over to Jeff to get things started and lead the questions.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you, Andy. So in this conversation today, we were talking about digital marketing. Now, within the marketing world, we're all very familiar with our own little jargon that we all like to use, like all professions do. So just really to help the mortgage brokers who are listening and watching this, can we just give a brief definition? What do we mean by digital marketing? Because it will mean different things to different people. So Gemma, you're nodding there, so I'll start off with you. So how do you define digital marketing that a mortgage broker would understand quite easily?
Yeah, so for me, digital marketing is really any marketing that uses anything electronic to convey a promotional message. So typically this can refer to kind of marketing campaigns that appear on your computer, your phone, your tablet, or kind of any other device. So really it covers a wide range of forms. So that could be anything from kind of online videos, display adverts that you might see when you're browsing other websites, search engine marketing, paid social ads, and social media posts. So yeah, that's really how I define digital marketing in a nutshell.
Cool. All right. Savannah, is there anything you want to add to that? It's going to be quite hard, isn't it? It's going to say, I agree with Gemma. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I would just say, yeah, anything online, really.
Yeah.
Any kind of marketing that can be done online, again, through email, through websites, through social media platforms.
Okay, cool. And then, sorry, Leah, over to you. Anything else you want to add?
I think essentially all of those things that have been said, but also a reminder that just because it might not initially be digital marketing and online, actually a lot of it can turn into online. So the thought of, out of home advertising can actually become viral on social media. Print advertising is often shown now in flipbook magazines online. So I think it's just thinking about everything that is online that you may not think is online as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's brilliant. Thank you very much, guys. So I think to kick off, I want to tackle social media, because I think when I speak to a lot of mortgage brokers, that's probably often the first thing that comes to mind for them. Isn't necessary from my perspective. So the question I really got here is because I come across very conflicting, I would say, advice on the use of social media and how to really get the best out of it, in terms of how to maximize LinkedIn right through to Instagram. Now you've got TikTok and all sorts of other platforms coming up all the time. So I was talking to a broker at an event last year, and she was just saying, well, I don't use social media because I don't think I should. And then you got someone else saying, I get loads of leads off social media. So the question really is, should brokers be using social media? And if so, is there any one platform that's slightly better than others? So I'll start off with you, Savannah, because this is the area that you won the award in. So really, you are, I think, what's Monty call you? I can't remember what Monty calls you now.
Social media queen.
There you go. There's no pressure with this question.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there was one social media platform that was more important to use. It depends on what kind of target audience that you're really trying to target to. So I guess if you were targeting first time buyers, you might want to look at TikTok or Instagram. But I definitely think having a presence on social media is important. I think if you can just have a presence on social media, it's pretty much free advertising.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important at least to have a presence.
Okay, Leah, do you agree with that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, it's not necessarily picking which is going to be the most important to you, but also thinking about what you have time for as well. Social media is massively time consuming. And, from my perspective, how I look at it is LinkedIn is probably the quickest because you can write down some thoughts and press go. Instagram probably requires a little bit more because you're looking at images and kind of matching things like that. And then TikTok for me seems incredibly labor intensive. But again, yeah, if you're looking at first time buyers and that kind of market, then you might want to spend your time there. So I think, yes, I mean, if you can be across every platform, fabulous. You can always duplicate content if you need to. But I think in terms of picking one and one that's right for your market, absolutely look at the target, exactly what Savannah said, but also think about the time that you have to invest in those platforms and which ones you could essentially get some quick wins versus some others that are going to take some time.
Yeah.
Would you sorry, just to jump in, Jeff,
Yeah,
would
that's
you
fine.
suggest then, I guess for somebody who's starting out on day dot on their kind of social media journey, would you kind of suggest kind of prioritizing one particular channel as a starting point and making that good, or kind of casting the net and kind of going deep with all of them?
Oh, I would say a bit of both. I know that's kind of a cheating answer, but I think, as I said, content can be duplicated, and if you're thinking in a way that you can go, okay, Instagram, I know that I can use this image and this is the copy that I want to convey. Actually, you can be using that across lots of different social media and just getting your brand out there more widely, and then you can start kind of optimizing as you get comfortable with it as well. I mean, the other thing is going brand new onto a platform that you may not even use personally can seem pretty daunting. So yeah, I think absolutely get out there, but yeah, maybe duplicate first and then hone in from there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would definitely say, just to touch on that, just start with something that you're comfortable with, because that's probably going to be where you're going to have most success in. If you're comfortable with using it, start off with that, and then you can start dabbling into other different platforms. But if you start with one that you're most comfortable with, it's going to be easier for you.
Okay. So Gemma, so one of the things that's just been mentioned is the word time. So at the moment, everyone is quite time starved, whether you're a marketing professional like you guys, a broker, or their client. So, Leah's already said you got to put a bit of time investment into this. Is that a real constraint to brokers, do you think, that stops them using it? Because I think if you're going to do something, you've got to do it well. And I think doing a post every month is not really going to pay much dividends. So how can people, is there any tips to make things a bit more streamlined for the mortgage brokerage?
Yeah, I mean, there are platforms that brokers can look into to help with like content scheduling, because one of the key things really with social media is having consistency of posting and just making sure that you are putting content out there on a regular basis. So there are a various amount of free platforms that you can use just with a quick Google online, where you can actually schedule content in advance, and that can kind of take some of that heavy lifting off from having to remember each week, okay, have I made sure that I've posted something on XYZ social network?
Okay, is there any one particular, are you talking about things like Hootsuite, are you?
Yeah, so Hootsuite's a really good one to use, and that's free to use up to a certain amount of scheduled posts.
Okay, so Savannah, obviously not everyone's going to have the luxury of you in their organisation, because a lot of mortgage brokers are one-man bands. So what can they do? Because they're busy giving the advice. So how are they going to find the time to do all this?
I would just say, look, I wouldn't put too much pressure on yourself to do it. I think the more personable that you can be as well is probably even better. So, even if you are doing something like going for a walk and you take a quick photo and you just put that up, having something, from your personal life is actually really beneficial. It doesn't have to be something to do with the mortgage industry. It can be about your personal life. So I think just be conscious of it and just be aware of it and be like, oh yeah, I should probably, if you're going to be posting on your personal social media accounts anyway, you should probably think, oh, could I put that as a post, as a work related account as well. So just, I wouldn't put too much pressure on it, but maybe if someone could set aside, even 15 minutes a week, just to think about a couple of posts that they could do, that would be beneficial.
Okay, Leah, have you got any tips? Because I think this is where a lot of brokers scratch their heads. Should I be using it? Okay, I need to be using Instagram, whatever. But I don't know what to say. So
I think so what we initially did when we were setting up our social media channels, and we had the same thing, we're like, we want to talk about the business, we want to talk about educational topics, we want to impart some knowledge, we want to be talking about what's going on in the market, all those things. And actually starting is then really difficult. So what we actually did in the beginning is, we're just on Excel, we made a month, and it wasn't a particular month, but it was just 5 days during the week, and it was 4 of those. And then we filled in the boxes with colors. So orange was saying something about that was happening in the news, and so you could go to Financial Reporter, find something that's just come out and is relevant to you. Maybe you've got a thought on it, you can do it on the day and go, I'm going to say something about that, or I'm just going to share that. Then 2 days later, you've got a different color that means I'm going to say something like a good testimonial that came in for my business. Somebody said something really nice to me last week, and I'm going to post that. And actually, you can format your diary in colors and just replicate that every month. I mean, if you're mixing it up with an event you're going to, as Savannah said, something that you're doing that day, a testimonial that's come in, and then a bit of a case study, you can rinse and repeat that and just fill in the boxes. And then it just takes the pressure off of having, again, to think about the topic that you're going to talk about that day, because okay, today I'm going to share something. Great, I need to just find something to share, and there's loads going on. So
what do you mean by rinse and repeat?
So you've got your calendar for a month, and you've got, I've forgotten the colors I've used now, but say 4 blue boxes that says you're going to talk about nice things people have said about your business. You've got 3 orange boxes that's about news in the market, and you've got 3 boxes where you're going to talk about some of the business that you've done recently. And you might have those over a Tuesday, and then a Thursday, and then you might have Monday, Wednesday, Friday the next week. Well, you could fill those in for the month of April with the text that you're going to say on those days, and as Gemma said, then put it into Hootsuite and get it to post it for you. And then when you've got time, you could be thinking about the next month and what's coming up there, and you could take that same template and just change the text.
Right. Okay.
Even something simple as mortgage jargon, for example. Think how many words there are that you could maybe explain in a in a non-jargon way what that means. That's already however many posts you can have for explanations and definitions. How many of those are there? There's loads. So even that is an example of like a weekly post that you can do, just kind of like debunking mortgage jargon. It's a good one to start with, probably.
So a term used a lot now with social media is this whole concept of personal brand. And I think that's what, because people want to buy from people. So I think all the brokers need to think about, in my view, is how they want to be seen out there in the ether, whether it's on social media or on their website. So if they want to be seen as a dog walker, put pictures out there of their dogs. If they want to be seen as a musician, etc., or if they only want to be seen as just talk about mortgages, it doesn't really matter. They got, as long as you're consistent and it's relevant to your audience, I think. So you don't, and also I think don't copy what everyone else is doing, because everyone sees, oh, put cat pictures up, we'll do this, that, and the other. You don't, just do what you want to do, I think is my advice.
Yeah, exactly. The more personality you can get on there, the better.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of brokers, like their business, it's an extension of them, isn't it, and their personality. And as Jeff said, people buy into people. So if you
Yeah.
can illustrate that, people are more likely to buy into you through your social channels.
Yeah, it's also easier to be authentic. It's so much easier if you're not trying to
Yeah.
create something, and actually it is just part of who you are.
Yeah, I think authentic is a key word. I think the other thing I think brokers can do through social is demonstrate their expertise. You've got financial reporter putting all the news out. I think my inbox gets invaded every 10 minutes by you guys. Actually, only joking. There's a lot of stuff going out in the sort of more national press that's just confusing the average punter, I think, at the moment, with interest rates going up, interest rates going down, inflation's going to fall, inflation's going up. So I think, again, using their personal brand, like, to demonstrate their credibility, because that's what people, they're coming for the mortgage broker in the first place. It's for their advice, and I think that's how they can use it to demonstrate their expertise. Do you do much of that, Savannah, at Coroco?
Yeah, I mean, definitely with reviews and stuff like that, we showcase a lot of our reviews. That's another one of our like regular posts that we do. So we are showing off our expertise in that sense. So yeah, definitely, and also with tips and general advice, or like top questions asked and stuff like that. We will ask the brokers and either film that in a video or get them to answer it and turn it into a blog. So yeah, definitely showcasing a lot of the reviews that we get.
Okay, I'm just going to do one more point on social media before we move on to other elements of digital marketing. So Gemma, in terms of measurement of social, how do you, obviously you've got a different organisation, but how do you go about measuring? Because I think some people get put off because they see posts out there that people get millions and millions of likes, and they put something out and they get one like, to think, oh, that's what am I doing wrong? So how do you go about measuring success of your social media?
I mean, we look at like a variety of metrics, really. So anything from impressions and reach. So how many people have actually been unable to see our posts, and obviously the more people that share the post, the kind of wider that reach is. So we always encourage our kind of sales team to extend the reach of our posts. And when we do look at things like engagements on the post, whether that's likes, shares, comments. I mean, comments are really valuable, especially if you're looking at something like LinkedIn. But I'd say don't be discouraged by just looking at the engagement stats, because sometimes that could be off-putting for someone if they're not getting, like you said, as many engagements on their posts as other people. It takes a lot of time to build up kind of a following and a community on social media. So yeah, don't be too discouraged by the figures, and especially if you're getting some really good engagement on your posting in the terms of like comments, then I wouldn't worry if it's not reached thousands of people, because quality is better than quantity.
Yeah, and just to come back to the word engagement, how do you actually measure engagement?
So our primary social network that we use is LinkedIn, and we measure engagement by kind of combining reactions on LinkedIn with comments and shares, and that's what we define as kind of an engagement on our posts.
Cool. Okay, brilliant, lovely. I think we've probably covered enough on social media, unless anyone wants to have a final point to say. If not, I want to move the conversation on to something different now, which is websites. So Leah, how important is a website to a broker? And also, with the way the mortgage market has changed, quite dramatically, particularly since September last year, do you think brokers have updated their websites to reflect the way the market's changed? And if not, do you think they should? So there's sort of three questions there. Is a website important still in today's market? And how do you keep it current, basically?
Yeah, so I mean, websites are important. I think when you see something on social or other platforms, generally something that people do is go and have a look on Google, see if it's legit. So I think having the website there is really just how you go, okay, we are a real company and this is what we're doing. And in that initial fact find, all of that information needs to be easily accessible. Sorry, my phone's going. It needs to be easily accessible, and it needs to be up to date, as you say. So I think, yes, it does need to be updated. The way to obviously do that without having to invest time every time something little changes in the market is to have a lot of evergreen content. So the content that doesn't need updating. So if you're changing the rates every single day as they're changing with some of the big banks or other providers, you're never going to be on top of it. But if you can say that a range of providers are contacted for their rates, then it keeps it just a little bit more evergreen, I suppose. It just allows somebody to read it, know what you're going to do, but they're not looking for the exact information straight away.
Yeah, and also I suppose it's also knowing now what is it that people are actually looking for, because I think what people are looking for now is a bit more than just rates than it would have been 6-9 months ago, in my view. So I don't know if you've experienced any particular change, Savannah, at Coral Co in terms of what what's the sentiment of your clients in terms of what they are looking for.
Yeah, exactly. I would just say again as well, like having relevant blogs updated on the website as well to what is going on in the current market. For example, Monty does a monthly blog with like a market update to keep everyone informed. And so when people are searching for that, that's going to be the first blog that comes up on the website. So that's kind of like an update for like the whole of the market.
Okay. Gemma, in terms of websites, I think we probably all agree websites are really, really important, but have you got any tips to help a broker really get the best out of their website, particularly the homepage, because obviously that's when people start off with generally?
Yeah. So I guess my top tip would be to make sure your contact information is really easy to find. So I definitely recommend putting it above the fold on the web page. So that's before someone has to kind of scroll down, so they don't have to kind of trawl through your website to find it. I'd obviously say to keep your mobile users in mind, because a lot of people are using mobile devices now. So make sure that your website is kind of responsive and it looks good on all different screen sizes. And make sure your branding is consistent as well, because that will really help kind of instantly make your business more recognizable and memorable.
So mobile is quite an interesting point, because I think two, you're a lenders here, so I'm guessing probably 80% of your traffic's probably desktop, whereas I reckon Coral Co is probably the reverse. Is it about 80% of your traffic's probably mobile? Is that right?
It varies a lot, but yeah, it's dominated by mobile users over desktop. Yeah.
So is there anything you would recommend in terms of mobile design versus desktop?
I mean, as Gemma said, just making sure that like the contact button is really visible. So people aren't trying to search it. They shouldn't be trying to find the contact button on your website, especially when looking on a mobile device. It should be really clear, just a straight button to be able to contact, to call through, to email, whatever your point of contact is. It should be there in their face, ready to just click and take them straight through.
Yeah, because there's an expression I used earlier this week when I was doing some training with brokers. I said you've got to be easy to mind and easy to find. So brokers want your clients to think of you, so that's easy to mind, and then also easy to find, and that comes down to the little nitty-gritty of the how to contact you. The easier you are to deal with, the more business you get generally. Is all that conversions. Yeah. Okay, and so I'm going to move websites because and trying to sort of correlate it here with referrals, because for years and years, all the brokers I speak to, they say most of their business comes from referrals. Now, I'm a bit of a cynic. I think referrals could be increased by having a better website, because the example I often use is a couple of years ago when I got myself a new accountant. I got recommendations and I went to different accountants' websites, and my choice was based on what I came across online. But of course, the accountant said, "Oh, how did you come across me?" I said, "Well, I was recommended." But the two other accountants don't know that I didn't come to them, even though they were recommended. If that makes any sense. So I think just because you get referrals, people still go through a journey to find that broker. So I think websites for me, on top of social, which we talked about. So Leah, do you think do you agree or disagree with that sentiment? Do you think how can brokers really use their website to help get more referrals that end up with them? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think as everybody's been saying, the contact button is kind of paramount, because if you are being recommended and you go, okay, I've been recommended, their phone number's right there, I'm just going to give them a call, that's great. But having a journey on your website is how you can kind of really entice people in, and you know, that is everything from, if you're clicking onto blogs, making it easy to get off that blog. If you're on PDFs, you know, a lot of things will go direct to PDF, and actually getting off of those PDFs and back onto the website can actually be really difficult. So I think it's just about journey and making sure that everything is easy. And I think it's as simple as that. You know, every page you should be able to contact the business. On every page you should be able to go and do something else. Every page should have a call to action, so that as soon as that person decides that actually, yes, they are going to get in touch, it's easy to do so, and not just from the homepage.
So Savannah, are there any sort of design tips to help maximize, you know, the call to actions, you know, the inquiries, in terms of little things, in terms of, I think Gemma's, I think it was you, Gemma, said, you know, making sure it's above the fold. You might want to just explain what we mean by that a bit more in a minute, but yeah, is there any sort of design tips in terms of colors, size of call to action buttons? You know, a lot of people, they blast you now. As soon as you go onto the website, they've got pop-ups coming at you in terms of get this form filled in, and I just bugger off. So is there any tips, you know, that can really, that you've tested and learned from, that other people can use?
Yeah, I would say just actually have a look at the website yourself from your own mobile device. See how readable it is. If you can change some font colors as well to make it pop and stand out more. Do some A and B testing, see what works with button wording as well. So if you have like a call us now button or a speak to someone now button, test it, see what works best, and go with that.
Okay, is there anything you want to add, Gemma? Also, just go back and elaborate a bit more about above the fold, because obviously when you've got mobile devices and laptops and all sorts, above the fold mean different things. But is there any sort of a general rule of thumb that brokers could help, that would help brokers?
Yeah, so when I say above the fold, I just mean that you basically are showing that call to action or that contact information before a user has to scroll any further down the page. So just making sure that it's kind of at the top of your page, maybe it's in the top navigation bar, just so it's really easy to find for the users. And I guess another tip that I would give in terms of like call to action best practices is, if you're not sure, go and have a look at, you know, some best in class examples. It doesn't have to be inside the mortgage industry. It could just be, you know, brands that you look up to or you think they're doing a really great job. You know, they might have huge marketing budgets and huge budgets for design and doing testing, so they've kind of done the heavy lifting for you. So if you need a bit of inspiration, you know, go and have a look at some other brands' websites.
Yeah, I think it's really good tips. So I have to get some tips from HubSpot. It's just good. I enjoy there. And one thing, you know, they discovered a few years ago was that having a red call to action button for them made a massive difference. Now, it may not be the case for everyone, which goes against the grain of sort of conventional design, because red's seen as a bit of a warning colour. And also the other school of thought is use colours that are opposite to your primary colour, so you know, for the colour wheel. And sometimes you can test things out by using landing pages as well.
Yeah, that's we've had a lot of experience of that, to that effect. You know, keep things very simple. If somebody's on a page about a mortgage product or a particular type of product, localize the content so it's about that particular product with a call to action for, you know, that particular product on the page. And I think what you said there, Jeff, about the different colours is certainly key. Like keep your call to action very recognizable and consistent. So if your call to action is green on your navigation bar, it's green across the website, so it's consistent that that's the button I need to press to action something.
Yeah. So moving on from websites, the thing that is always talked about now is the concept of SEO, and this is where I think sometimes brokers get a little bit misled. So the SEO firms out there want them to start with SEO, which I think you should be starting off with the right content on your website in the first place, because otherwise you'll drive people to your website and then people just bounce away. So Savannah, is there anything, without giving trade secrets away from Corica, anything that you could sort of talk about that would help a broker from an SEO perspective, and really sort of, what do we mean by SEO? Because I know there's different types of SEO. So is there anything you could advise on here?
I definitely think content, that's probably the first place to start, is content. Probably researching keywords as well, and making sure that those keywords are in your content and your titles of your pages as well. You can use websites such as SEMrush to find out what the most popular keywords that are being used for that industry. So that's probably a good tip. And also backlinking as well. So essentially, a backlink is like another website pretty much giving your company a shout out, or linking your page, whether that's from a blog or an article. So if you can get as many backlinks, Google really loves that. And so it will push you right up. So yeah.
So how would a broker go about getting a backlink? Because it's not something you can buy in Tesco, is it? So
no. So you would want to contact anyone that might have mentioned your website if they've had a previous news article or mentioned you in a blog, and just ask them, just email and say, look, would you mind linking?
Fair enough. Okay.
Just to jump in, we mentioned kind of content a lot as a broad term. Have any of our experts got any like examples of when they've put together like a content piece, like a blog or something, which has kind of had a positive effect and driven traffic to your website?
Shall I take this one?
Yeah. Someone please.
Yeah. So our content generally does pretty well, which is really, really nice. And one of the pieces that we've done recently is around kind of the landlord-tenant relationship, and we wrote that obviously for our brokers to then be able to use with their clients. So it's research and it's a blog piece as well, and they can then discuss that with their clients. And I think that was then taken by other brokers, used on their website. They actually gave us backlinks, which is great. And so I would say for brokers, have a think about the content that's not just necessarily for your clients, but actually good for a certain area of stakeholders to your business, and they might then feature that more readily. You could also, if you're struggling with content, I mean, content's one of those things where it sounds great, and saying the word content over and over again is really good. But when you sit down in front of a Word document and try and put 1,000 words on paper, like that's scary and it takes loads of time. So the other way around, if you're just trying to get content on your website to show Google that you're posting frequently, a bit like what Savannah said, is like up-to-date content all the time. Think about who could feature on your blog and get them to do the work for you. It's just another kind of direction to go in, so that you're not having to put a blog out every month or every week to try and get people to your website. But yeah, our blogs are always kind of written in a way that we obviously want to impart some knowledge, impart some information and some education, but we also want to make sure that it's the right kind of content that if people wanted to feature us, it can be copy and pasted. Obviously Google doesn't like it when things are duplicated, but you could be reaching out to people and saying, hey, I've written this thing, but would you like to put it on your website? I think it's relevant for you.
Okay, so are you sort of volunteering then to help brokers with their content? Is that what you're
So
saying?
interestingly, we already help some of our brokers with content, and we write for them on a monthly or weekly basis. So if anybody needs anything, please just let me know.
Oh, all right. Good. Gemma, SEO, that's what we're talking about. What tips can you give a broker? So one of the things I'll ask is, how important is, and I'm going to say the URL now, so in terms of the actual website address, you can see some brokers do this really, really well when they write their blogs to make sure that is part of this sort of the way people ask questions on Google. So how important is the actual URL slug, if you like, for SEO?
Yeah, so just make sure it's descriptive as to what the article, the blog piece, or the landing page of your website is about. So like Savannah was saying, there's loads of keyword research tools that you can use. I like a website called alsoasked.com. That's a really good one for you to put in kind of key phrases, and it will show you what people have also asked in Google following Googling that phrase. So yeah, make sure your URLs are descriptive as to what is on the page and really clear, because that gives a nice clear signal to Google if the content is relevant for the searcher. And another tip that I would give for kind of SEO and just really boosting your visibility on search is, again, to look into free tools. So Google My Business is a really good one that brokers can set up a free profile. All it does is it helps you showcase kind of relevant information about your business in search engines, so that when people in your local area are searching for services like yours, then you're more likely to come up. And it's also got some nice benefits of having like a reviews feature, which is really great for building kind of more trust within your business and brand.
Okay, so you two of you now have talked about different tools. So Savannah, you talked about SEMrush. So now, when I've looked at SEMrush, it's fine, but for a mortgage broker who's busy, how and also it costs money as well. They have to add to that, so you can get free trials. But how can they really use that to maximise SEO from their perspective? Because it's got some fancy terms in there like SERPs, which can mean different things, especially those who used to pensions in the past. So how can they use it? I mean, and also it's getting through, because in the mortgage market, the most common term is still how much can I borrow? But there's only a limit how many people can get on the front page of Google. So is there any tips you could share to help people? Because some people spend a lot of money on this. London countries spend millions each week, for example, to make sure they're on the front page. So you can't compete with that. So what tips can you provide?
I mean, yeah, you can't compete with that sometimes, and it is very up and down. I would probably say, again, use Google as well. See what comes up when you put in search terms. See what's performing well, and try and kind of just kind of copy that onto yours as well. See if that's working well. Trial and error. See what works well and monitor it that way. But yeah, I just think with your titles of your pages as well, just make sure that they're descriptive as possible. Same with when you're linking out as well. If you're referring to a link that's out, instead of sometimes we put referrals to like a news page if we've been quoted in the press, and instead of just putting read more or click here to read more, if you actually put what it is that you're clicking to, Google much prefers that rather than just a read more, because that doesn't give Google anything.
Okay,
if that makes sense. So
yeah. And what about the whole concept of pay-per-click Google advertising? What's your views on that? Gemma, have you got any views on that?
I think the benefit of pay-per-click advertising is, like it says, you only pay per click. So I think it's definitely worth trialing in that. You're only going to pay once that person actually lands on your website, and then, like we spoke about earlier, it's all down to the website then, right? And making sure you've got your clear call to actions as to making sure that you're getting that person to do what you want them to do on your website. Yeah, again, need some research though, picking out kind of keywords and terms that you want to bid on. So it can be quite competitive, and really I'd say key bit of advice really is try and set out what you're willing to pay as a maximum per click. So that gives you a bit more control with your budgets as to, okay, this is the maximum amount of money I'm willing to spend to get someone to my website. And that can hopefully help in setting up your campaigns.
Is there, you can add to that pay-per-click, Leah, because it is a minefield for most brokers, because I've seen on a Tuesday morning one advert is £2 per click, on the Wednesday afternoon is £20. So so from a budget perspective it's quite difficult, and it's very competitive, and I think the only winner, to be frank, is this recorded, is Google.
Yeah, I think I would basically reiterate exactly what Gemma said. I think it needs a lot of research first. If you're trying to do it on your own and you don't know much about it, it's going to cost you a lot of money, and the realistic output of that is going to be a lot of spend and potentially not that many leads, especially if your website is not sorted and optimized and as good as you can make it to begin with. Pay-per-click I see as something to be added to your organic strategy. So do everything that you can without spending money first, and then supplement that with PPC, because I think otherwise you're going to be throwing money at it, potentially some really expensive keywords as well, because then you have to be looking at the keywords, and if you're trying to go for something that's heavily bid on, that's going to cost you even more. As you said, it's a minefield, and I think initially you should be trying to understand it more, do some research, and then look into it. That would be my take on it.
No, I think that's right. The key word is optimize. You've got to optimize everything else in your business before you start spending money in these areas, in my view. Otherwise, you're just throwing your money down the drain. Savannah, have you got any experience with Facebook advertising?
Yeah, we do run Facebook adverts. Yeah, we do. We find that our video Facebook adverts actually perform better than our still images.
Yeah.
But we run those. I do it usually. I change it up every quarter, but I run them monthly.
Okay. Right, fine. Okay. Yeah. Right. So I'm just conscious of the time, so I'm going to move on to another part of digital marketing, which is email marketing. So it's one of those things that sometimes gets forgotten about because it's, I'm old enough to know there was a time before email marketing, and now email marketing is no longer the shiny new toy because it's been surpassed by so many other things. For me, I think this is so important for mortgage brokers, particularly to sort of stay in contact with your existing clients. So it's just generally sort of what's your view on email marketing from a broker's perspective, and how can they get the most out of it?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think email marketing is kind of really still important, an important part of the marketing mix. It actually is shown to be one of the best return of investments as well of all kind of forms of digital marketing. So you've really got the power to reach your customers in a place that they visit every single day, which is their own inbox. I guess a tip from me to getting the most out of email marketing is really think about your subject line. So make it short, make it to the point, try and be as specific as possible as to what your customer is going to find when they open that email. Because the subject line is one of the main reasons why emails don't get opened, and you could have kind of the greatest thought out, most helpful content for your customer sat inside that email campaign. But at the end of the day, if they don't open it, they're never going to see it. So again, a lot of email providers now kind of give you the option to do A/B testing, like Savannah mentioned earlier. So where you can have a look at, okay, well, this is one variation of the subject line and this is something slightly different. Which one is going to get my audience to open it? And these can be really great for seeing, doing some test and learn and seeing what is really going to get your customers to open that email.
So Leah, this is Jeff, the cynic, talking again here from an A/B testing. I think from what I've seen over the many years, you need a massive database to make it really viable, because sometimes you get a split, which is about 51-49%, doesn't help you significantly. I think, but there are other ways you can test subject lines just by testing it to see which ones work and going back to your, as Gemma said, you've got to keep it short. So look at your subject lines that have worked and then just keep using them. Similar. There are certain tricks of the trade you can use. So anything you want to add about subject lines, or how else can brokers get their emails opened?
Yeah, I think I would agree with Gemma. Like A/B testing is something that we employ. But again, as you say, that comes from having a really large database. But I think for smaller brokers, that database may be an Excel sheet. It might not be a fully fledged HubSpot database of 20,000 people that you're trying to talk to. But I still think that the testing is important. As you say, you can still split your database, and if your database is an Excel spreadsheet, great, split them, see what happens. You can still do that testing. and you would just have to spend a little bit more time on figuring out what works. I think, it's great that these big platforms kind of do it for you, but they need the data to be able to do it. You can still do it. It's going to take a little bit longer. I think another thing I would add on the subject lines is try and personalize where you can. I think somebody passed me a stat earlier on, which was 68% are less likely to engage with content that feels automated. So if you can try and personalize, again, the big platforms can pull in first names, on their own. But if your email marketing strategy is just to go one by one to your database because you haven't got that many people, you can personalize that, throughout the email as well as the subject line, talking to that person, mentioning their name, talking about their business. Personalization is the way that you will get your emails opened, and whether you're doing that through an automation or you're doing that because you're typing it there and then, great.
I would say I think personalization is massively important, and it goes a bit beyond sort of the sort of people call personalization tokens. So yes, say hi Jeff, etc. But I think if you're making reference to what the client's done for you in the past, if you know they've done a buy collect case with you or a bridging case, whatever it might be, just make reference to that, and that how you really get that good personalization, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And even down to when they worked with you last, you can segment your audience into loads of different things. So you could say it's a client that's worked with you once, you can say, it was really great to work with you last time, or in the month that it was, but it'd be really nice to revisit your mortgage and it's coming up for renewal and all those things. But yeah, from an automated side, the personalization token is great, but you can still segment on those large platforms, and you can split it down by cases done or anything like that. The opportunities are endless. It's just the time to implement them. So again, I think it would be worthwhile thinking about how you're going to personalize and kind of stick with that, see how it works again, and then before moving on to something else.
So Savannah, the thing I want to cover here with email marketing is, I sort of started to see this probably about more than a decade ago, when there's some really good sophisticated CRM systems out there for mortgage brokers. And to go back to your point, Leah, your mortgage come up for referral, then they got these nice systems, but they think, what am I going to talk about? I don't know what to say. So what do I don't know how much email marketing you do at Corrigo, but what advice can you give some other brokers about how to use email marketing to stay in regular contact with existing clients and not wait until their fixed rates come to an end, but keep communicating with them?
Yeah, I think definitely categorize into groups as well. So first-time buyers, buy-to-lets, remortgages. If you categorize those and make those really personable, you're going to get a better response rather than just a generic email that goes out. But again, if you are having like a blog or something that goes out, email that out as well to let clients know. Really utilize the data that you've got. Yeah.
Okay. And what about any sort of tips on segmentation, which Leah's pointed out there? So you could have there's different ways to do that by product type, or it could be, when was the last time the client got in contact? So if you've got people who haven't been in contact for 5 years, treat them slightly differently. Is that something you do?
Yes, we do that. Yeah, cool. Exactly. Yeah. So we would categorize it. We'd pull our data specifically for those clients, and we'd create an email campaign depending on what we're emailing them for.
So what the email marketing platforms, if you like, any sort of advice? What's a good one to use, Gemma? What have you seen? Because obviously MailChimp is the word I hear a lot. Yeah. It's easy, it's cheap for mortgage brokers, but is there anything else out there that you would think about using?
I would say start with something like MailChimp, which is low cost. We're very lucky that we've got HubSpot to do our email marketing, but obviously realize that is kind of a bigger platform, but I do think they have some kind of free versions that you can take advantage of as well. And I've also used Digital as well in the past. That's another email provider. So there's so many to choose from when you look online. So and lots of them, as I said, have kind of free options. So it's definitely worth having a Google and seeing what one works best for your business.
Okay. Leah, any tips that's different?
No, I'd say the same. We use HubSpot I think what's really good is yes, MailChimp is cheap, and we are fortunate to have HubSpot, same as Gemma. But if you can link your email marketing with your CRM, you're just going to be able to pull that data way quicker. So it's not going to take as much time. So it's whether the financial kind of input is going to be worth then the time that you're going to get back, because you're not constantly changing lists and moving them everywhere. You can just pull it straight through something and ping it right out.
Yeah. Anything to add, Savannah, at all?
Yeah, we use .digital.
Okay.
So we pull our data as well, and then we upload it to .digital and send it.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got 5 minutes left on this recording. So just want to sort of follow up with all this. Unfortunately, there was going to be another one of the award winners from I can't remember what they're called. Is it?
Online Mortgage Advisor.
Yeah. So they provide mortgage leads for brokers, don't they? So I was going to be a little bit harsh on them, but they're not here. That Savannah, do you buy mortgage leads, and how effective are you? And this and is that a strategy that people should be using as part of their digital marketing?
We don't actually buy any mortgage leads, no. We work with various different estate agents that will refer clients to us, and then obviously our website is probably one of our main sources where we get leads from, and then just like word of mouth, like referrals. Yeah.
So Leah and Gemma, have you got any particular views on this? If not, we can move on.
Nothing from me.
No, I didn't know.
I think again, with any of those things, buying data, buying leads, anything, I would just say do the research, figure out exactly what you want to get out of it, make sure that they are able to prove that they can deliver that, and they can deliver leads that are quality, and then go for it, but know what you want from it, and know that that you're not guaranteed to get loads of business, but ultimately I guess the better companies will get you better leads.
I suppose what we're trying to get to here is any business has got a way of thing up in terms of more building your brand, which is whether that's through your social media activity or advertising or your website, through to generating business for today, which could be buying leads, could be Google advertising. So you've got to get that balance right, really. And I suppose the only people who know that is the people running their own business, because everyone's going to have different strategies, etc. So I think the important thing is to do what's right for your business and for your own goals, etc. Don't try and just do what everyone else is doing. So we've virtually run out of time. So I just want one final thing is video. So I think Savannah, you mentioned earlier Facebook and video. Any tips on video marketing that we could just finish off on? Is that a good thing for the brokers to use?
I think if you're confident enough to do video, definitely do it. I think people enjoy watching videos a lot more than they do reading, unfortunately. I think they just like watching it, especially like how TikTok has been so successful. You do even get mortgage brokers on TikTok now offering their tips and advice, and it goes viral, and they're just literally might be sat in a car and just my 5 tips today, and it goes viral. So I mean, what have you got to lose? I think if you're confident enough to do it, definitely do it. I think it's a great way. But yeah, I mean, I've no negatives really to say about it. I think it's great. But yeah, only if you're confident enough to do it. I wouldn't say put too much pressure on yourself to do it. Start off with maybe writing and doing posts and stuff like that, and then when you do feel comfortable enough.
So in this webinar, we've talked a lot about Google. Google's got a lot of free advertising from us. We've talked about HubSpot, but no one's actually mentioned YouTube yet. So Gemma, do you think having YouTube channels is a good thing for a broker?
I think it can be really beneficial. I think one of the key benefits of platforms like YouTube is you get some really great stats off the back of it. So you get some really nice analytics as to, how many people have viewed your video, how far have they got into the video before they stopped watching it. So you can really figure out if the content that you're putting on there is kind of worth the investment that you're putting in. But I think it's kind of almost been overshadowed kind of by TikTok and the fact that on platforms like TikTok, it doesn't kind of have to be a high cost production, right? It can just be filmed on your smartphone. So it's so much easier and so much more accessible for you to be able to invest that tiny bit of time to get some content out there.
Okay, cool. And Leah, you can have the last word on all this.
Brilliant. Yeah, I would reiterate what these guys said. I think don't overthink it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to be in a studio with lights set up and everything. It's what these guys have said. Just go for it. And also remember that whilst you might be the only person in your business, if somebody in your family is better on video than you are, maybe give them the script.
Yeah.
You know, it's still your business putting out your content. It doesn't have to be you in the video. If you hate it, don't do it.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah. Andy, I'll let you finish off because I think we've covered everything. Yeah.
Thank you very much for steering the conversation. That was very insightful. There was lots of good content there, lots of good things to consider. Before we sort of clock off and finish this session, I just want to give each of our award winners and marketers the chance to just sort of tell us very shortly a little bit about what you do and where our readers might be able to find more out about your business. So I'll start with you, Gemma.
Yeah, so we are Empowered Mortgages, which is a new fintech mortgage lender offering prime residential mortgages exclusively through mortgage brokers. We're all about providing brokers and their customers certainty sooner, and we've got the latest kind of smart technology such as artificial intelligence, automation, and machine learning, all embedded in our platform to make the process of applying for a mortgage a lot easier. So you can get an agreement in principle in less than 5 minutes, and you could submit a full mortgage application in less than 10 minutes. If you want to find out more about Empowered, then you can go to empowered.co.uk/intermediaries.
You should be a BDM, Gemma.
Thanks, Gemma. Leah?
Yeah, so Market Financial Solutions, MFS. So we do specialist bridging loans and buy-to-let mortgages, focusing on things like foreign nationals, adverse credit, all of that good stuff. You can find out a little bit more about what we do on mfsuk.com, but I think I would definitely, for the purpose of this conversation, direct people to our blogs, our research reports, and our thought leadership, just to get an idea of what they could be doing on their website. We push out a lot, but we're also writing for brokers. So if brokers do want to get in contact and potentially, you know, we can write for them and save them some time, great. If they want to provide us with some content, then cool. So yeah, just absolutely go and have a look and see what takes your fancy, really.
Great, thanks, Leah. And it's worth mentioning to those that are watching this session that we'll drop links into any sort of software or the websites that the guys are mentioning now into the footnotes of the video, so you'll have access to that. And Savannah?
Yeah, I work for Corico Mortgage Advisors. We like to kind of approach as a jargon-free, friendly, down-to-earth mortgage brokerage. You can visit our website, which is just www.corico.co.uk.
Lovely.
Well, thank you very much for everyone's time on this Friday afternoon. That concludes the session. I'd just like to mention to everyone that is watching separately that if you would like to find out more about our CPD events or digital content like this, you can visit www.financialreporterevents.co.uk. And thank you very much for watching.